What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I'm going to show you how to throw some snow. Hey, so we just finally got some snow here, and so I had bought this thing because I wanted to test it out. This is the YARDMAX snow thrower. It's a 26-inch, two-stage snow blower, and this one is gas-powered. And the reason I picked up gas-powered as we unbox it here is basically, I like the electric snow blowers. They're so convenient. They don't smell. They don't make any noise either, really. So you can do it really early in the morning without bothering your neighbors. These are all trade-offs that you're going to have to make if you want to get a gas-powered snow blower. But the big advantage gas power has is that it can run basically forever. You keep filling this sucker up. And recently, my neighbors were kind enough to throw the snow out of my driveway. And it would just be nice to be able to reciprocate that. And just because of the long driveways that we have here, which you've seen on the channel, it's not that easy to do with an electric. So my electric will just do mine, just about. And then the batteries need to be charged for roughly 8 to 10 hours in order to get them fully charged again. And so that just does not make it feasible for me to ever do something nice for my neighbors. So I thought I'd get a gas one here, something that maybe has some torque and some longevity and running power. And the YARDMAX seemed to be a really good price point. So what I'm here to do is set this up. I want to walk you through that. All right, so I've got it unboxed here, and everything is packaged in here pretty tightly. So check your auger and all that, because there's parts all over the place. I'm really actually impressed with the quality of everything as it looks coming out of the box. You know, even the metal chute there is metal, and so that's pretty nice. Kind of an upgrade over the plastic chutes that I get on most things. You do need to supply your own tools, and I want to show you here. You're basically going to need a 13 and a 16 millimeter wrench, and a 13, a 16, and a 10 millimeter socket. So that's apparently what I'm seeing in the description here as stuff I'm going to need to assemble it. And it does look like it is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to put on this lower handlebar here first, down here, then the upper handlebar. I'm going to put in the crank for the chute. I'm going to put in the chute itself. It does come with this YARDMAX. And I'm assuming this is 5W30 engine oil, so that's nice. Obviously, you'll have to put in your own gas. And I think then you will just install these spacers, these guides for the ground here. Now, getting this lower portion of the handlebar is the first thing that you want to do. Now, these bolts that it slots into are actually already backed out a little bit, so I just need to push it in there. And then we're going to take, you can see the tapped screw right there called the M10 by 40 bolt will go in there, and those two bolts will hold everything in place. So you're going to want to tighten both of those in, and that'll give you this lower handlebar, which then we can attach this upper handlebar to. These are both the 16 millimeter bolts up here and down here. And because of how much travel these have, I would strongly recommend a ratchet on these. Now that we've got the lower handle, we're going to take this. It's already wired up, so you can't really move it anywhere but into position here. And then you're going to use the M8 by 45 bolts, two on either side, to attach this and hold it in. Now, I will say, probably be a little easier with two people, but I don't have two people, so. Okay, now what I want to show you here is a couple interesting things. First of all, only one bolt goes on this side. And actually, I will kind of throw out here that YARDMAX has everything set up in 1, 2, 3, through 10 steps with all the respective parts. So it's really nice to keep organized. So only one on this side, but two on this side. Now, there is a washer and a bolt connected to everything, and the washer goes on this side to basically give it kind of a surface that this self-locking bolt or the self-locking nut can kind of press up against. So you can see here, you've got the curved head of the bolt on this end, the curved washer on the other side bracketing these in, and then you're going to use that 13 millimeter ratchet to tighten it down. Next, we're going to put on these skid shoes. The flange goes out, and those are going to bolt right into these holes right here. And then you're going to use these screws, the M8 20 by 20 and the M8 by 25s. The 25s are going to go in the back, and the 20s are going to go in the front. So you want the shorter bolts coming out forwards here. So let's get these suckers in. All right, onto the chute and the flange, and here's the flange, and it has the stop here, and so you actually have to put it on here, and that's going to kind of let it hit this arm and stop. Now you are going to have to attach the chute here. It's probably only going to fit one way, but as you might be able to see here on the box, there are these little rubber underside stoppers or spacers, and they go on the underside of the flange, and so it's going to be a little tricky here. All 10mm bolts, so between the socket and the wrench, I think you're going to need both of these to tighten everything down, but let's do that. All right, time to put in the chute swing arm, which should be pretty easy. This little bracket in here, which is receiving it, is actually still loose, so you will tighten that down, so it kind of makes it easy to put that in there. Looks like you're going to put a cotter pin in there, and then back on this end, it looks like you are going to use the metal arm that's attached here, probably to insert right in here, because we're missing one of those pins, and that's going to hold it in. So you're just going to want to adjust this so that this piece, the little twirly part, slots in here, and then tighten that down. And so that will be all it takes. So tighten that down with 10mm. Now we've got to install the shifter linkage arm here, and you can see there's some holes, and it comes with this roll pin, and it says to make sure that it's facing right. So hopefully this linkage is in the right position. I'm just going to put it over there, then put the roll pin in here, and then you're going to need probably a mallet to kind of hammer it in place, because it's going to kind of get knocked in place. So you're going to have to figure out how to line that up and then kind of pound it in. Then you're going to take the shifter linkage arm and put it in there, and then you're going to connect the upper portion into this little bracket right there, and then use the bolts and cotter pin to attach. And then down here, you're going to see two loose wires. You're going to connect this, the control panel, to the engine. Should only go one way. Boom. Connected. All right. Now doing my final walkthrough here, what I didn't see in the instructions, but obviously should have been, I'm not sure if this just didn't come connected, but this auger clutch lever needs to be engaged. You can see we have a little hole right there, which is where it's going to go. So I've undone the first screw here and backed this other one as far back as possible. And I'm just going to pull it here and then feed it through there and now tighten this down. So you do have to do that, otherwise one of the handlebar controls isn't going to work to engage the auger. So I finally got this thing oiled and gassed up. There was a little bit of oil in it, maybe from engine testing, but you really actually do have to fill up quite a bit of oil into it and then gas, and hopefully I didn't spill it all over the place. Just want to quick show you the controls here. First of all, it's got a cup holder, which is pretty American. Then we've got the speed control right here. And then you have on this side, the lever up here is to engage the speed clutch. And so I really like the fact that these are top going down. I know that's really common, but there are snowblowers out there where you lift them up. They're underneath handles, and that gets really, really tiring. So just having your weight of your arm holding the handle down is really nice there. And then this side is the auger clutch control, so that you would pull that down and that would engage the auger. And obviously you can see the crank there to adjust the auger angle. And then down here we have a light switch for the headlights, and then also a power switch right there, so that you can turn on, what you might not be able to see here, heated grips. You can see there are little wires on both grips there. And so I don't know what they'll feel like, but I've never had heated grips, so that's going to be awesome and amazing. So I'll just turn those off there, and then we will go through the startup procedure and see if we can throw some snow. Of course, it all comes down to this. Now, this does have an electric starter, so I can plug an extension cord into it, but I want to try it the old-fashioned manual way. So I think all we have to do is, I've got the key already installed here. It does come with a spare. Now I'm going to turn the choke from run to start. I'm going to turn the switch on. I'm going to turn the fuel here on. Key is in. Key is in. I'm going to hit this primer button here a couple times. Hopefully that's got fuel in there. And now I'm just going to kind of use the full start on this bit. And hope that comes on. Just like that. It doesn't get any easier. I'm going to turn the choke back now. Let's do this thing.
Now this thing is pretty awesome. We got anywhere from about 8 to 10 inches of snow in different places, and I didn't have to overlap at all. I was able to use the full 26-inch width of the snowblower to pick and throw snow. Now, a couple of things that I wish this had is, one, it would be nice if the handle to rotate the chute were a little bit higher. You actually have to kind of lean over. It's probably about 6 or 8 inches lower than where it would be really easy to grab while standing, and so you do have to be pretty diligent about that. It's not hard to move, it's just a little too low to be really, really comfortable. I will also say that the heated grip seemed to work. I didn't see any snow accumulating on them, although because I was wearing gloves, it's hard to really feel any heat coming off of it. Now, in some areas where I had some really deep snow, it still cut right through it. I did put the speed on kind of one of the slower settings to make a more deliberate track and push through the snow and not let it choke up, but it had no problem throwing snow that was 8, 9, 10 inches deep. Now, the snow was pretty powdery. It's still only about 27 degrees outside, and so it's not heavy and wet. I was also really impressed with how well it gripped. I think because the unit is pretty heavy, you get pretty good traction. Even though the tires were fully inflated, you could probably get a little bit better traction by deflating them a little bit. I never had any problems with grip. In fact, you can see the tracks left in the snow where the tire tread is really gripping and digging into the snow, which is awesome. And again, obviously some pretty thick snow here, 5, 6 inches deep, and no problems with any of that. Now, like any gas-powered snowblower, it is very loud. It's like a riding lawnmower. It rumbles, and it's going to be annoying to people if you're doing this really early in the morning, because I could absolutely hear my neighbors throwing snow as well. I will say, even though I put on my music hat, my Bluetooth music hat, which I did a review on and really liked, I had to have the volume cranked up to the maximum in order to really hear the music. Now, in the future, I will probably use my noise-canceling Cohen earphones so that I can listen to music or my podcast while I'm doing this, because it certainly takes about 30-40 minutes to snowblow the entire driveway here. And you know, you do have flying snow, so you do want to wear gloves, maybe even ski goggles and a hat, so that you don't have it in your hair and face as you're doing it. But I really thought this snowblower worked really, really well. In fact, it's probably the quickest I've ever snowblowed my driveway before. And again, because it's gas powered, it allows me to keep running it for as long as I want. So maybe I can surprise my neighbors with a nice clean driveway. Check it out, the YARDMAX 26-inch wide dual stage snowblower. Put a link to it in the description below. Peter von Panda, out.